Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. The highly acclaimed young adult fantasy Pure Fyre from KristaLyn Vetovich is a high-vibe fantasy adventure of free will versus fate in a world where magic picks favorites, a perilous journey of friendship and danger. The fire is going up, the dragons are coming, and the hero wants nothing to do with it. Internationally best-selling author of the Shifted series, Driven Fearless, the complete roadmap to facing your fears and driving forward, and more, both fiction and nonfiction. KristaLyn is a high-vibe author, metaphysical expert, astrologist, who helps people find emotional healing through the joy of entertainment and divine timing, living her dream of sharing her message with the world. In her bio, it says that KristaLyn lives in a treehouse in Pennsylvania. Yes, we'll ask about that. With her husband and her corgis, Jack and Zelda. KristaLyn Vetovich, author of Pure Fyre, our guest on This Week in America. KristaLyn, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Excited about having this opportunity to talk about not only this book, but your background as well. So many interesting things you've done and are doing with your life. First of all, I have to ask about the treehouse in Pennsylvania. Are you literally in a treehouse as we speak?
I am in a California modern house made out of redwood that hangs off of a hill. So it is a treehouse, but it's rather large. So it's supported by the hill behind it. Trees everywhere. Sort
of like some of those you see occasionally on HGTV. I'm sort of picturing that as I'm reading this in a treehouse. Sounds like now on YouTube we just see you in the room, but you'll see the KristaLyn's video, her picture on YouTube and the house, and maybe we'll come back someday and take a tour. That sounds exciting. But we're here today to talk about Pure Fyre. Our guest is KristaLyn Vetovich. What was the inspiration for writing this book? Where did this idea come from?
So I have always loved writing. This is not my first book. It's actually, I think at the time of writing it, it was my sixth. So I would just move from one story to the next story to the next story and just keep writing books. This one was a snippet of a dream that was really cool. And so I wanted to see what happened in the rest of the scene. And the rest of the scene turned into a theme and a book and a plot. And so it became about dragons and adventures and kings and, representation in your government and in yourself. So it expanded.
It's interesting. I'm reading one of the reviews and it says, generally I'm not a fan of fantasy, but she won me over. I'm reading. I can't wait to get to the next page. Everything is very believable. That has to be the ultimate compliment, isn't it? Because here's someone who's not necessarily into fantasy that's captivated by your story.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And one of the most amazing compliments I've heard was someone was trying to explain to me this movie they were watching last week, and then they remembered they were actually reading my book, but they were able to picture it so well. They remembered it as a movie. So as an author, that is a huge compliment that I'm so grateful for. Yes.
Our guest on the program, KristaLyn Vetovich, that's spelled Vetovich. I'll give you her website here in a second. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can log on, get information on the book Pure Fyre. That's Fyre. Let's talk a little bit about this high vibe fiction. I mentioned that in the beginning. What exactly is that?
So high vibe fiction is my passion right now. I noticed that in the world at large, we have this emotional state of anxiety. And I believe that some of the things that we choose to take in our more passive moments of entertainment are kind of making that a little bit easier to have. I think it's easier to be anxious because we're watching and consuming entertainment that talks a lot about anxiety. And so as we put ourselves into the character's shoes, we're also feeling that anxiety. We're learning to feel anxiety in different ways. And sometimes we don't get through the whole process to the coping part of it. Yes. So high vibe fiction walks the reader by way of the characters through the process of having a situation that they are healing through, but they go through the whole process of healing. So it will bring you all the way back around. And if you've ever watched a movie or read a book where afterwards you just feel like you could take on the world and your faith in humanity is restored and all of those good feelings come up, that's the kind of fiction I want to be providing. And that's the kind of fiction I help other authors write consciously. So if you want to help someone through the process of PTSD or through some kind of emotional trauma, you can do that, and they can just be reading a story. So they don't have to be working through it. It doesn't have to be so rough for them and so difficult to face. They can be learning these tools through entertainment.
It's almost therapeutic, yet you really don't know that. And it's a fascinating topic. Talk about the influence reading has on mental and emotional wellness. And there definitely is an influence there, isn't there?
Yeah, one of the most amazing things is when you are creating or when you are watching TV or when you are dreaming when you're asleep, you enter a brainwave that is known as the theta brainwave. And this is the brainwave you use when you're dreaming, but it's also the brainwave you kind of fall into when you zone out. And so if you zone out watching television that's anxiety inducing for you, your subconscious, that theta brainwave, is accepting this anxiety as its truth. So you're programming your subconscious to be anxious. If you choose instead, and horror films can be high five for certain people. So it's not limited to just happy-go-lucky stories. We want to make sure that you go through the whole process, that you complete the story and not just leave your subconscious hanging, because your subconscious really is your inner child. And if your inner child is asking why and doesn't get the answer, then it's not going to know what to do. So that theta brainwave really is the key. It's the same brainwave used in hypnosis and in psychotherapies, in various forms of therapies. We're trying to get to the root in the subconscious, and we use it naturally when we're consuming entertainment. So why not meet there and do it in a casual, comfortable way?
So basically what you're saying is reading can support the emotional healing process, and I think you just explained a little bit how that actually happens. So it's more than just enjoyment. There's sort of a subconscious healing process that's taking place as well.
Yes. So if you are influencing your subconscious anyway, why not do it through entertainment that actually does benefit your subconscious and that you enjoy at the same time? So it's a win-win situation.
And you're not sitting on a couch paying $150 an hour talking about your life story. You're being you're being shaped. Your emotional subconscious is being shaped as you're reading this book. And this book in particular is Pure Fyre. KristaLyn Vetovich is our guest on the program. You'll get all the information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. KristaLyn's website is KristaLyn, Lyna, Vetovich, that's Vetovich.com. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and we'll direct you there. I mentioned the background in astrology. How does that relate to your writing? Is there a connection?
There absolutely is. So I like to relate it to astrology is like the weather. It is what energy you're going to find yourself in that day. And I like to call someone's astrology chart their stamp of approval from God or from the universe, because you were always going to be born on that day. And that day had the perfect weather for you to be born under, to be who you are. So like, say you're born in Florida, you move to Pennsylvania. Well, you were born in Florida, so you're a little bit more naturally inclined to Florida. It's the same way with astrology. So you get to understand your cosmic weather report, and then the books you choose to read and the material you choose to consume and to share are like the clothes you decide to wear that day. So you know it's going to be this type of day for you. Do you need a jacket? What kind of book do you want to be taking with you? What kind of feelings do you want to have that day? You can use the book to adapt to the climate.
You know, you talked earlier, this is fascinating, the high vibe entertainment. I want to go back to that for a second because everything sort of comes back to that concept that you were talking about. What are some other examples? Are there examples outside of the literary world that you put in that high vibe entertainment category?
I absolutely do. I actually worked at Disney World for a while. So many of the Disney movies that I watch, they just leave you feeling good at the end. Even if you're crying, you know, you watch movies like Up and you just sob, but you get it. You feel good at the end. And even if it's a cry, it's a good cry. It's a cleansing cry. Or as I said, some people really get high vibes from horror movies because it gives them this excitement or this process that they wouldn't normally get. So any form of entertainment can be high vibe. It's very unique to the individual and very subjective. But you want to make sure that whatever you're feeling that day, it's like when you choose what you're going to eat. I feel like having Chinese tonight. I feel like having pizza today. Make sure you choose to consume what you feel like having rather than just what happens to be on TV. So I call it conscious high vibe entertainment.
Pure Fyre is the book we're talking about, the latest from our guest on the program, KristaLyn Vetovich. All the information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You Google Pure Fyre and spell it correctly. You'll get to her book, Fyre. I'll give you all that information again before we end the program. And you'll find it, of course, on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Let's talk a little bit about your background, where you grew up, what you went through. You mentioned Disney, just one extraordinarily interesting aspect of your life that shapes who you are today, where you're able to write and work with astrology and help shape people's lives. A little bit of background that sort of the building blocks of who you are today.
Sure. So I was blessed with a wonderful and supportive family. My mother, when I was 13, instead of the normal rite of passage of a 13-year-old, she took me to my first mission trip. I went to Jamaica and handed out clothes to families so that their kids could go to school. And I got that perspective. And I've now been to more than 20 countries, just helping people, gaining that cultural, well-rounded perspective and understanding that people are people wherever they are, and that one-on-one we can always help each other. So that's been beautiful. And I've gone through a lot of healing of my own, both physically and emotionally, with past relationships that weren't so great that I needed to heal through, but now I can help other people do it, with rare neurological diseases and things like that I've been able to cope with. So all of these things that I've come through have taught me that we're all going through our own story. And one of my mentors says it best, where you can't have an adventure without a little peril. So it's that kind of thing that really works into high vibe fiction and high vibe storytelling, where you do have an adventure and there is peril, because it's going to be there. It's becoming who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are valid. It's just that if you're not happy, you shouldn't stop there. The adventure isn't over. So I truly believe that if we can walk ourselves through the peril, find what's on the other side of fear, learn healthy coping mechanisms, healthy emotional wellness, that we're going to be doing a lot better, and we're going to fill our own cups so that we as individuals can help other people in the world do the same. And I think we are all in this together, and I just love people.
Well, and it really comes across not only in your work, but just in talking to you as well. And if we think we're going to escape and have a perilous life, that's not true, is it? In fact, we get through one, and then another roadblock is in our way. So we really need to sort of evolve, I'm assuming, in this process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bless this mess situation, right?
Yes.
You always hear, turn your mess into your message. Well, if you don't have a mess, you don't as easily find your message. You will find your strength in the things that you overcome. That's what they're there for. Life happens for you, not necessarily to you. That is something that I truly believe. So everything serves you in a way, and it's just how you decide to make it work that really leads to what you can do with it.
How did you get to this point? I guess I'm asking maybe the influences in your approach. Where did this come from? Obviously, I don't think it's anything you particularly learned in school. This is sort of a real life, open-minded experience that you went through with a loving and nurturing family.
I did. I grew up in a very loving Christian family. And when I was 10, we found out I needed brain surgery, which was kind of a shock. And at that time, a woman came forward and said that she was studying this form of energy therapy. It's like prayer healing and faith healing. And we thought, there's really no way we can lose. And we have everything to gain, nothing to lose. Let's try it. And so as she was teaching me to meditate, to pray deeply, to center myself and send love to others, and to balance my own vibrations, high vibe, right?
Yes.
To balance my own self, I learned that I can actually feel energy. I can see it in the air, and I can help other people by doing that. So I actually became an energy healer. I've got more than 15 certifications in holistic practices that I believe you can attribute to whatever creative source you relate to most, but I call him God. And so I went through about 15 years, 20 years now almost, of helping people with that, until I realized I can put this in my own unique way. I can combine it in a unique way that might serve other people as well in different walks of life. So that's where I've come from, all because of this really big mess that I found myself in when I was 10, but I wouldn't change a thing because it's given me all this opportunity now. So I find it as a blessing.
Well, and the opportunity to help other people, and you're doing that in so many ways, including with all of the books that you've written. What we're talking about specifically is Pure Fyre. KristaLyn Vetovich is our guest on the program today. Let's go back and talk about the high vibe entertainment. I'm fascinated by this concept, and we talked about it, maybe making people happy. Is there an application beyond just that? Other emotions that you're able to influence with high vibe entertainment other than happiness, pleasure?
Absolutely. So I believe every emotion is actually a part of the process of finding happiness and finding joy. I believe that, cliche as it may sound, love is the highest vibration that you can have, because when you treat someone with love, you're seeing the best in them, and you're willing to forgive other things that may be shortcomings in them. So you're able to have open communication, healthy communication. Everyone feels heard and seen. But I also believe that when we are in a lower vibration, a sadness or a depression or an anxiety, it's a reflection of how good things could be once we move through that process, once we see what the situation is trying to teach us and showing us. So I think every emotion is important, which is why the hero's journey in storytelling is so great, because it takes you through the beginning, the middle, to the resolution. It doesn't just say, be happy. It doesn't just say, stay miserable. It says, here's where you start. Here's how you go through ups and downs and unexpected happenings and just cope with all of these things. And then here is how, at the end of it, it all makes sense now. And you can appreciate the journey. And so to me, joy, love, treating people fairly and treating them with love, that is the ultimate expression. But everything else creates that. So there's really nothing that's invalid about having anxiety or about feeling sad some days or just letting yourself rest sometimes. You don't always have to be happy, because then what even is happy? You need something to be able to base it off of. And I think all of the wide range of emotions that we have are in themselves blessings, because they show not only that there is another side of depression or anxiety, but they also say that if I'm this upset now, I can be this happy later. I'm capable of feeling it to that magnitude. So I think every expression of emotion, every expression of feeling is totally wonderful and a gift in its own way.
And you know people are capable because obviously you've gone through this. So what you're talking about is something that you experienced. If people see you now and go, oh, she's had it, everything has gone her way, all of her breaks, what a great life she's had, that great smile, being able to help people, that passion that she has for life. You've had the downs as well as the ups, obviously. And again, it shaped who you are today and made you so much more relatable as someone to guide us all through these problems in life.
Absolutely. One of the things that, since you bring it up, before I had the bad relationships in my life, when I was younger, I was quick to judge people. And then I realized after these situations, after these experiences, I had no room to judge anymore. But that just made everybody so much easier to love. Because if I wasn't so busy judging them and thinking, oh, well, they're just not good enough for this, which is not true. Everyone has incredible exponential potential.
Yes.
Now I can relate. Now I can see them for who they are. Now I can meet them in their journey and guide them, just like the mentor archetype character in a story would. So that's my goal, is to be the hero of my own story, but maybe the mentor or even sidekick of someone else's, so that they can be the hero of theirs, because everyone is the hero of their own story and they have that incredible potential. And if I can help reveal that to them and help them understand how to make the most of it, then I think I'm doing something right.
You know, I mentioned in the introduction, successful at both fiction and nonfiction. Let's talk about the fiction aspect of it. What does fiction provide you as an author, from a creative standpoint, that nonfiction doesn't? You'd almost think what the story you're trying to tell probably is best told nonfiction, but you tell it in a story. We follow somebody else's life, and all of a sudden we're relating to that. We sort of see us reflected in your characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nonfiction is great because it's very direct. So you know step A, step B, step C, and that's fantastic. If you're already at the point where you're ready to learn something and you want to learn it, nonfiction is fantastic. But if you're in a place where you're just trying to figure something out and you're not even sure what that is, the stories you're reading will actually kind of help you understand that. I actually like to say Twilight was one of the things that changed my life in the fiction world, because the themes in it helped me realize that I was not in a good situation. When I found myself attracted to certain themes in it that I normally wouldn't be attracted to for my personality type, I realized I was out of alignment with myself. And so that story helped me get back on track. And the great thing about fiction is it helps us remove the personal situation. It's so much more objective because it's not personal. We're not worried about getting defensive. We're not comparing ourselves. We're just walking with a character through their process. We're not experiencing our biases. We're not experiencing anything that anybody else tells us to think. We're watching a character go through something. And because we have that separation, because we have that objective viewpoint, we can reflect without holding ourselves to this huge responsibility and pressuring ourselves into not being able to think. Sometimes we do that where we are thinking so hard we miss everything.
Yes.
And in fiction, you have the opportunity to get the big picture and have less pressure about it.
What are you working on now? You mentioned that Pure Fyre came from a dream. Any more dreams? Anything you're working on?
Well, actually, I'm working on finishing up the Shifted series. I have 2 novellas out already for the Shifted series. One is called Strayed and the other is called Slaughtered. And they are actually the end of the world from a spirit guide's perspective. So imagining how hard it must be for God to get through to us when we're not really paying attention. So the spirit guide shows us how we might be missing little things in life that are actually signs and gifts. And so that's my fiction side, but I'm actually also working on my next nonfiction book about how to write high vibe fiction. If you are a writer who has been waiting to be able to write the fiction story that you want to write, but your characters have not been talking to you because pressures from marketing and the publishing industry and all those things that we writers feel the pressure of,
Yes.
This book is going to be for you.
You know, one of the reviews says of Pure Fyre, a journey to bring balance to the world, but mainly to bring balance to oneself. And I'm thinking, we really can't save the world until we save ourselves, can we?
Yeah, one of the concepts that I love about so many holistic practices is we understand the as without, so within, right? So the world that you see around you is just a reflection of your own experience. That's a psychological concept as well. So if you work on yourself, if you make yourself happy, again, you fill your cup, you can make other people happy because you're not struggling. So for me, yeah, it is about creating this best self for you. Like on an airplane, you're putting the oxygen mask on yourself because if you don't have oxygen and you pass out, you can't help anybody. So you put the oxygen mask on yourself and then you are able and prepared and equipped to help other people too. And that's where I think it all really starts.
Our guest on the program, where the time has gone by quickly, KristaLyn Vetovich. KristaLyn is Krista, capital Lyn, middle initial A. Vetovich is Vetovich. Her website is KristaLynAVetovich.com. The book's available at Amazon, the usual places. You can go, of course, to her website or go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on to get all of the information. The latest is Pure Fyre. She's the author of the internationally best-selling Shifted series. Other books you'll find on her website. KristaLyn, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time with us. Hopefully we can do this again. Good luck with the new book. Good luck living in the treehouse. I've got this great vision of this fantastic house you live in. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It has been our pleasure. KristaLyn Vetovich, author of Pure Fyre. You'll find information on her book on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.